All right, we live, man.
Hey, peace, prosperity, salutations. This is another week of Real Life, Real Talk with Brothers John and myself, Yarima Karama. I hope everybody's had an absolutely splendid week. Um, and I hope that economic, uh, the economic situation is not affecting as many people as I believe that it is. Hopefully nobody's being uh, severely wounded by these tariffs and just the fact that everything is going up. You know, John, I went to see that because I wanted to support, and I don't do it often, but um, went out with my lady friend, went to the movies last night to see Sinners, and a good movie, by the way, excellent footage, great movie. Ryan Coogler absolutely did his thing. And I'm speaking from an artistic standpoint. We know that Hollyweird, they have their way of doing business, but from an artistic standpoint and being a scriptwriter myself, I could really appreciate the work that he did in that. But a regular box of popcorn and two regular drinks.
Yeah.
A regular box of popcorn and two regular drinks cost more than the movie.
Wow.
A regular box of this was one. This was just a regular, not the big bowl one that you get, but the regular box of popcorn and two regular drinks, not large, regular drinks. $25.54. I ish you not. $25.54. And me and the lady both at the same time simultaneously said, "What?" And the guy, they're just working there. They're just going to take orders. They're not going to buck anything or anything like that. So we know they're going to protect the plantation to the death of even of themselves. But just the fact that you know, I remember years ago, and I don't go to movies often, but I'm just thinking to myself, we didn't even get two things of popcorn.
Yeah.
Didn't even get two, just a regular box of popcorn and two medium drinks, $25.40. And we were at like, I'm like, wait, what? And he's like, oh yeah, the drinks are eight something a piece. Eight
Wow.
something a piece. Wow.
Well, man, like I say, they are pillaging the people.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I haven't been to that movie. The last movie I actually went to, when my wife was in New York, she used to do these extras, and she was an extra in the Batman, the Joker movie. So
Okay.
during the shooting, there was one scene where she was right up next to who was Lady Gaga or somebody, whoever was in it. And so when we go see the movie, all those scenes were cut out. Every scene that
Right.
she would have been in was cut out, I did not enjoy the movie. If I had been at home, I'd have changed the channel a long time ago.
Right.
I haven't been to see Sinner yet. I've heard about it. My brother went to see it. He liked it, but I'm not a big movie guy. If it comes out on TV or something, I may watch it. But
Yeah.
you know what I think about Hollywood. I don't care who makes the movie, what it's about. There's some message in it. There's something in there that they want to get put out. I don't know what it is. I haven't seen Sinner, so I'm going to ask you, what do you think the message they were trying to get across to the masses?
Well, it actually, and I could spend all day on this, and I don't want to because I know we got topics, but it actually, there were a lot of metaphors in there. There were a lot of subliminal messages in there, on so many different levels, from the corporation aspect of how people get caught up in the corporation to the aspect of one wanting to control our music and our sound, just wanting to take control of it, to really, not, how we invite people in and how they energy vampire on us, and people can't get in unless you invite them. I mean, there was just so many messages. I might, that would be a podcast just itself, really.
Yeah, yeah.
It was that kind of movie, and I get it. So, and one, I'm like you, John. Anything Hollyweird's putting out, but it was recommended that I see it, and I do go on those type of recommendations. And I look at it. I looked at it too from a spiritual aspect. A lot of spiritual overtones in there, a lot of spiritual metaphors in there on how we as a people, how we used to operate spiritually, and how that changed. How that dynamic changed, and how it's a vampire movie, but it still was like just the oh man the metaphors, the similes, the
predictive
esoteric, the predictive programming, the esoteric meanings to things. It was all in there. He did a great job writing it, and of course, we know that Hollyweird has their thing, but I think he's one of the producers right now that he's got, if I'm correct, he keeps all the rights to all of his stuff.
Well, that's a good thing.
They don't like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been getting flack back from that. Obviously, not too much flack because I mean the movie it's a Warner Brothers production, so.
Well, on that tone, while we're on celebrity news and black people owning what they do, you can't help but have seen the hullabaloo of the Shador. Was Shador Saunders, Dion's son?
Yes.
That fallout. He not being drafted, and you can say what you want to say about it. I'm not into the sports like I used to be. I used to be a big sports fan, and I paid attention to this for the reasons. You could compare the fact that the Peyton boys, their dad did the same thing that Dion's dad is doing, or did for him, and there was no problem with them doing it, but now Dion does it, and they we get all this pushback. Yeah. And Dion he's always been prime time. He's in your face, and he backs up his stuff. He's like Ali used to do. Ali talked smack, but he backed it up.
Yeah.
And you cannot deny the man's impact on modern culture or sports, anything. But I see it still. I see it from another point of view as this is another divide and conquer tactic, because there's going to be outrage, and what they did, I don't agree with how they did it. They were running the draft as a cartel. I bet all the owners probably got together and said, we're not going to draft him. And but at the end of the day, it just drives that spike further between us. And that's what the people. I'm not even the owners. It's way above that in my mind. The people that want to keep things in control, they're doing it, and they're losing control on several fronts. Man, you notice it used to be anybody that spoke out against that little country over there that's killing people. They would be immediately chastised and shut down. But they can't. The stench has risen so high now they can't keep it covered.
Yeah,
that is coming out. So, I think he's probably gonna get out there and do very well because he's got the genes. Yeah, he's got the ability. He just needs a chance to do it. But I still think that somewhere down the line, it wasn't just we don't want him. It was a little more to it than that, and that's my opinion. But Eddie, we'll find out how that end comes out at the end of the day. But it did stir up a lot of talk, and
well, I think that you're right, but I think I think that you're right as far as the division that gets created. But I also think that it says something too. It kind of takes me back to the lady statement. LeBron, shut up and dribble.
Yeah,
they don't
want a black man with a voice.
Yeah, they don't want us to speak up. And so if speaking up is going to create a division, well then shoot, we're already divided as a group of people. So I
Yeah,
mean, if speaking up about what you think is going to, I mean, if me keeping my mouth shut about something that I have a right to say, if that's going to stop me from being a top draft pick, well, what type of auction am I a part of? Is this still the slave auction? And so, and then we could take that further because if you look at how the football players are treated and how they are on
yeah,
the football auction, it's like a slave auction. And so, I think that yeah, it creates a divide, but I think that at this point, I think that people there's too much information out here. People are divided because they want to be divided.
yeah,
I think that, and that's not all, but I think that some people, you know, if you can't see the shenanigans by the government, if you can't see that red and blue, they're playing for the same team, if you can't see that, you know, your pockets are being pillaged, if you can't see the rising number of homelessness in this country, if you can't see how jobs have been outsourced, if you can't see how the gas prices fluctuate in this country, I go over to Georgia and gas is 30, 40, 50 cents lower than in Florida. I mean, why? And so, you know, if you can't see 20 million or 20,000 jobs being lost, you know, that's not a we thing.
no,
That's a somebody above
yeah,
our pay grade is manipulating and able to do these things. And if we can't come together, if we're going to be divided on things such as, you know, well, this young black boy, this young black child who has every right to speak his mind and whose father spoke his mind,
hmm
uh,
but see
he's
that,
going to be chastised
yeah,
for speaking up.
yeah,
Yeah,
but see
okay,
that's what I'm saying. Above all of what we, you know, remember I said there was like those, not the 3D. No, we're not playing 3D chess, but
right.
you know, I think it was engineered for them to do that. They knew what was going to happen, so
Mm,
they engineered that. Okay, the word probably came down to the owners. You know, the owners, those billionaire, they're in the billionaire club. Somebody above them said, "We don't. You're not going to draft him. You're not going to
mm,
draft him." And
yeah,
so yeah, I mean, I totally support his right to you know what they were doing. I mean, what father wouldn't do that? You
yeah,
know, look out for your son. You know, and he's already, like you say, he's already dominated that sport, so he knows the ins and outs. And that's
yeah,
another thing. You know, they don't like black people with knowledge. When you come in, you know, knowing what you're worth and knowing how to get it. They don't want that. They want people like the Rockefellers once said. They said they want people just smart enough to run the machines
yep.
and not give us any pushback when we say do this or do that. So yeah. I mean, we've always seen that. Any, you know, I saw this meme somewhere that, you know, the sports field is the only level playing field, and who
Mm,
dominates that?
mm,
Because you
yeah.
can't change them. You can't change the rules in the middle of the game. You know, the rules are
Hmm.
going to be the same. 100 yards is 100 yards. Who can run the fastest? They're going
Yep.
to get there first. And you can see when we got into when we were allowed to come into to professional sports, what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dominated.
and it would be the same way in the business world if there was a level playing field. But see, in
Yeah.
this world and out here, they can manipulate. You know, I was arguing with I wasn't arguing, but a army buddy. I was telling him, you know, if the playing field was level, we would never have needed affirmative action. We would never have needed DEI.
Facts.
All we needed was an opportunity to play on a level field, and
Hmm.
that was not happening. So that's why you got those programs, which were well intentioned, but still, they didn't do what they were supposed to do. We see how they got co opted. They
Yeah.
always turn around and include everybody else but us.
Yeah. It's funny how those programs, yeah, you're exactly right, John. There would be no need for those programs if the playing field was equal. It's never been equal.
Nope.
And nor do they want it equal.
Mm-mm.
This is one of the reasons. This is how the unions were started to keep
Yep.
us out. This is how the original unions were started to make sure that skilled black laborers were kept out of it. And so, yeah, it's this guy who just wants to play football. If he can get on the field, he's going to dominate. He's going to be better. That's just what the stats show.
Yeah.
It's not what I'm saying. It's just across the board from since the inception of the league and the
Right. Right.
inception of black people into the league up until now. That's just what it is. We don't even have to debate or argue that. They won't debate and argue that
Because it can't be manipulated.
exactly. And so, yeah, those programs were absolutely. And then the programs get implemented, and who takes over? White women, then Hispanics, and every other group but us. We end up number 7th on the list for programs that were intended to help us because the playing field wasn't equal. So,
Yeah, man. Well, since we're on celebrity news, we got to touch on your boy,
not mine, but
Mr. Sharp.
Mr. Sharp wasn't so sharp on this.
I tell you, man. There was a clip of Monique was talking to Shannon. You say, you just need to get you a real black woman. Is basically what she was saying. She, was a little more colorful than that.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show, man. That's how many men have been brought down by that. Cat Williams had something he was saying, so you could be King Kane and they'll have your rabbit ass toe down in a week or 2 weeks or something, Yeah. It just, why do we keep falling for the okie doke, man? What is it, man? What is it? Does it go back to the days when, that was forbidden fruit?
You know what? I'm gonna say this, John, and I think because he talked about how I think Shannon early in his career talked about how he was called ugly and things like that, and I really think it does go to a self-esteem issue.
You
and
made a comment about that the other day.
Yeah, I think it really deals with the self-esteem issue and how we devalue ourselves, particularly as men. It's interesting to me when you watch women and they're always in the mirror and you can tell a woman how beautiful she is and she still questions it. But what is not talked about is how we as men tend to devalue ourselves, maybe not given the accolades and the accolades should actually come internally from ourselves. It shouldn't have to be somebody outside of yourself that convinces you that you're a handsome or good-looking guy. But I think that Shannon, along with others, there's been others. Dennis Rodman talked about it. There's been other players that talked about how they were considered ugly, and then when they got some money, they were considered ugly by their own group.
Hey, man,
by black women. And so, they get some money and they have these other women looking at them, and even black women are now finding you very attractive. I guess the bigger thing for me is, and I'm not even going to go into the white and black thing. I'll keep that to myself. I'm going to have a black woman myself.
Yeah.
But for me, and it's been an argument. I go down the timeline and I'm just like, I just want to block some of these people. I don't block them, but I'm just like, I get tired of seeing it on my page because you all are falling for the okie doke, the distract. It's a clear distraction. Yeah. But on another note, I'm wondering what a 50-some-year-old man looks at in a 25-year-old woman. I don't as a man, I don't get that. I just don't. I mean, it has like somebody broke it down and was like, if you kind of take away the years and you bring him back to 25, how old is she? And so it has, I mean, the country says, well, you 18, it's of age. And, Yeah, but I mean, it just has remnants of pedophilia to it, to feel to me. Now, I know that that's pushing it because she is of age,
Yeah.
according to stature in this country.
Legal standards or statute. Yeah.
Yes. But if you go down the map, and I posted a map a couple of days ago, if you look at that map, it's showing all the states where legal married age for girls is 16.
Hmm.
They far outnumbered the other states where legal age is 18. Like it was very surprising that 16 and 17, you're considered a woman. You're considered adult,
Hmm.
both male and female. And so I'm just like, I think the brother's dealing with some low self-esteem things, man. I really
Yeah,
do.
you could be right. But he
Even
got
with
it.
all that money.
Yeah, he got to deal with it. So, but yeah, man.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
50
that's
million is that's a hard way to deal with it though. That's
ooh
a hard
boy.
way to deal with it. Damn.
Yeah. Well, man, what's
Hmm.
going on? What's going on with the terrorists?
Well, the tariffs are what taking
Uh,
about 20,000
the,
UPS jobs, or did you say terrorists?
no, yeah. Well, the terrorists are terrifying.
So I get what you said now. You said the tariffs that were implemented by the terrorists.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. Now we're on the same page. We're riding on the same book now. Um, yeah, apparently they're costing like 20,000 UPS worker jobs
Yeah. You
and
saw?
others.
Yeah. Did you? Well, there was a story that came out that Amazon was going to start putting the amount of the extra cost that the tariffs were going to add on to products they were shipping, and the press secretary came out and said that that Trump called it or somebody in the administration called it a hostile act.
Mm,
So
mm.
apparently Amazon backed off and they're not going to do that now. But I saw somebody break it down, man. It's like, if I'm buying something and then my costs go up,
Hmm.
your cost is going to go up. Did I have to sell it to you? That's just
Hmm.
economics 101.
Hmm.
You got to recover your profit. You got to cover your profits. Or so if it costs more to bring something in, it's going to cost more when it gets here. So
Yeah.
however they can say that the tariffs are not going to cause prices to go up, I just don't understand that. Maybe I'm missing something. But the facts aren't proving that I'm missing something.
Well, you said it. I think you said it. You spoke about it brilliantly in our last session, John. The pillaging of people, the fall of an empire. You can always tell the fall of an empire by one of the last stands is it starts to pillage its own people, and that's clearly what we're seeing.
Yeah.
Even this Republican bill they're trying to push, House Transportation Committee is pushing this $15 billion upgrading for various parts of the aviation system, but they're talking about new fees on electric vehicles, but also $20 annual fee on all other passenger vehicles.
Yeah.
Like
That's
I
what I
talked,
say, man.
I said it years ago, and people didn't believe me, and I said it. As a matter of fact, I made this statement in 2015, 16. And I said, before it's over, if we're not careful and we allow it, we'll be paying a tax to breathe air in this country.
Mm-hmm.
They will find a way to tax us for breathing air.
This lady, we talked about her a while back. Her name was Catherine Austin Fitz. Remember the story of how they found out there was $21 trillion missing? She
Yeah.
and this professor from Michigan they went through and using the government records show where $21 trillion was unaccounted for. So instead of fixing that, they passed this thing called FASB 56, which basically put all of their transactions in a black box. due to
Mm-hmm.
national security. Nobody can see them. So when she had a article the other day I was reading about the control grid, how they're, trying to they were talking about these CBDCs at one point, the central bank digital currency. So Trump
Mm-hmm.
comes out and says, "Oh, we're not having that." But now he's pushing this USD crypto, which is basically it's a crypto that's tied to the dollar.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not going to have the central bank CBDC, but they're pushing that, and also within that control grid, this whole thing about Stargate, where
Mm-hmm.
where they're coming up with these. I forget what the terminology was. Basically, they're going to be doing something to cure cancer and all kinds of other stuff through this Stargate application that that they're going to make that part of the control grid. And with all of this, immigrant migrants thing going on, they're going to they're tying all that to how we're losing our First Amendment rights. Because you see these people that were maybe citizens or students here speaking out against what's going on over in Israel, and they're getting deported, or some of them are getting sent to El Salvador. So how long is it going to be before that comes down to, American citizens?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, we're on a slippery slope. Everybody thinks that the Orange Man is doing a great job of this, and there's a lot of stuff that just the news isn't reporting.
Yeah.
Or they're reporting inaccurately. Like when he rolled back the tariffs, and the market was down, then he rolled them back and it shot up, and somebody was saying, there were people that knew that was going to happen. Yeah. And they capitalized. I think they had a bunch of guys sitting around in the office. Yeah, you made $200 million this week, or whatever it was. But they did that, and there were insiders that knew it was going to happen, and they were able to capitalize off of it. While people like me and you or anybody, you're not in that circle.
And if we found out something like that, and our bank account would have shot up, we would have had the feds at our door. They would have been talking about insider trading. How did you get this information? So, yeah, it's definitely a club, and we're not a part of it, as the comedian would say.
Yeah, George Carlin. Yeah, he had a lot of stuff, man, that was way ahead of his time.
Yeah,
you're talking about how we love to bomb brown people.
Yeah, exactly. And there's things that he's doing that people are feeling the crunch now. They're feeling the crunch.
A lot of people that voted for him are like, well, I didn't know this was going to happen, but it's happening. On stand on that, China a few years ago, they bought Smithfield. They make a lot of pork products. Mm-hmm. So China bought them because they were big in North Carolina, and it says China's Virginia-based company Smithfield Foods is having problems getting their pork into the country because China is imposing 125% tariff on goods from the U.S. in response to America's 145% tariff on imports to China or from China.
Yeah.
Smithfield believes there will be a demand for that pork that may have gone to China and other foreign markets. So, with these tariff wars, they usually end up in shooting wars. And we've got a lot of stuff going on around the country, around the world. I don't know if you know Pakistan and India. Mm-hmm. India has threatened to cut off a water supply to Pakistan, and they've said that would be an act of war if they did that. And both of those are nuclear powers.
Yeah.
So, man, it's just
Then you got the situation in Burkina Faso where they're
yeah,
trying to they want to go arrest, and they actually have a solidarity stance today that they're doing, supposed to be all over Africa and other parts of the world, um, with basically standing against the U.S. and French forces going to try to even arrest. Their solidarity union is based on keeping the president of Burkina Faso, Brother Ibrahim, safe and
yeah,
untouched. And so, but just the fact that they want those resources, and that should let everybody know, just even talking about that, you're
hmm,
talking about going into another country that is not an immediate threat to you, is not attacking you in any way. He's just basically trying to control his own domain.
keep
That should let
exactly.
everybody in the world know the evil that this country is. That should
Hmm.
let them know the demonic evil that this country is. And they did the same thing with Noriega. They can say what they want about Noriega running drugs, but the fact is that you went into a country and kidnapped a president. You couldn't
Yeah,
arrest him in his country. You
right.
kidnapped him. I remember it very well, just
Yeah,
like it was
I do
yesterday.
too.
And you flew him back. And as soon as he touched American soil, you arrested him. So imagine the Chinese flying over here and kidnapping Trump and taking him to China and landing. When they land, they read him his rights and throw him in a Chinese. That would be a declaration of war, which
Yeah,
I don't really think they wanted with China, honestly. But in China's they're interesting too because of of China stays out of everything. They really just sit back and watch. They collect data. They stay out of it. With all the countries that are talking about standing with Burkina Faso and China being well entrenched in Africa, even
hmm,
Putin, even Putin said that he was going to send troops in to assist Burkina Faso and sent or was supposed to send Russian aircraft to control the air of
hmm,
Burkina Faso from attacks.
hmm.
China hasn't committed to any of it. And China has businesses all throughout Africa. They have beachheads set up there. They just sit back. They haven't fired one bullet.
Hmm.
And they're not even talking of firing a bullet. And it's interesting to watch how they play the game. It's it's very strategic. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
but
Well, they are. I saw this one story. It says of the high stakes in South China Sea as naval drill escalates tensions. And here we go again. John, let's just imagine if China had a fleet of warships in the Gulf of Mexico. I know they say it's the Gulf of America, but it's still the Gulf of Mexico.
hmm
Imagine if China had a fleet of ships off the coast of anywhere in America. What
yeah,
would, we'd be flipping out.
yeah,
But here, the United States has a fleet all the way halfway across the world in China doing drills. And then, that's okay. We can do that. And
yeah.
the hypocrisy of the of what we do. Well, I won't say we, of what they do, because it's not the average people like me and me. It's those guys we elect,
hmm
and they're the ones pulling the strings, calling the shots, and maybe or being told what to do because
Yeah.
some of the stuff that they do just doesn't make sense. And that was another thing that this one lady, she's a retired lieutenant colonel, and guy asked her about American politicians, and she said, "Well, most of them are just dirt bags." and and she said, I hate to use the word, but they're just dirt bags, and they have so much dirt on them that's how they're controlled.
Mm.
You wonder why are they voting for stuff that are totally against their constituents'
hmm
plans or wants or needs, but totally supporting the people that gave them all that money. So
Exactly.
yeah. So and I think one of the biggest proponents of owning our politicians is Israel. You know, they have the APAC, which is you know, it should be registered as a foreign agent for lobbying, but they don't.
Right.
They don't do that. So, and you can find a whole lot of things that Republicans and Democrats disagree on, but when it comes to them, they're all lockstep.
Yep,
On both sides of the fence. They're not going to disagree. There was a retired lieutenant colonel or army, maybe it might have been a general. They were trying to get him in as the second person behind Tulsi Gabbard in the national security, and they raise such a fuss. But he was an anti-Zionist. He wasn't. He wasn't in it. He was just. They knew he was not with the program. They got him up out of there, and they replaced him with a woman who served in the Israeli Defense Fund as a soldier, has a dual citizenship, and now she's second in command behind Tulsi Gabbard and the director of intelligence. Now, how does that work? What if we had a Russian that wanted to be in the national security apparatus,
right?
Or Chinese? It baffles me, man.
That's why I can't take politics serious.
No,
I just can't take them serious because there's no checks and balances by us, the people, and you have, and that's why I say the divide is there, John. You got a group of people that if they're red, hey, red's in office, we're winning.
Yeah.
And they can't even see the forest for the trees. You got a group of people, if they're blue and blue is in office, they think that they're winning. And the fallacy is that none of us are winning. That's the crazy part. None of us are winning.
Remember, like you said, it's like football or any sport. If the ref makes a bad call on the other team, you don't care.
Yeah.
He makes a bad call on your team, are you raising hell?
Yep.
But when you should be doing it either way because you want things to be fair. But
yeah,
it's not, man. And but yeah, it's something's they've been trying to get this war going. Trump said he could end the war in 24 hours. Okay, it's been a long 24 hours.
Right.
Yes, he had his 100-day speech last night. I didn't even watch it. I'm like, or listen to it. I just say it's going to be nothing but a bunch of hip hip hooray on this and hip hip hooray on that, and Democrats bad, and we did this great, and the playbook. You don't have to watch that stuff to know what he's going to say. Yeah. It's getting to the point now where they need a war. They need something to come up because the financial situation, the tariffs are being blamed for it. But we've been what, $36 trillion in debt, and the debt is growing by every 100 days. It grows another $1 trillion. It's unsustainable. You can't. If you run a business like they run the government, you'd be in jail.
Yeah. Exactly.
And
buried under the jail.
This stuff happened back in 2019, right before COVID. They had this something went down, something happened. These banks used to do what they call intra-bank loaning, where they would loan each other money overnight to cover whatever. So something happened, and the banks, they stopped trusting each other and wouldn't loan each other money, and stuff started going down. So the Fed had to come in, and it started doing what the banks were doing, loaning people that money. And that kind of got swept under the rug, quietly. And if you remember, they have this thing now. We had a bailout before, but if something goes down again, it's going to be a bail-in, where they confiscate your money that's in the bank to keep the bank running. And I just saw something too today that the Fed has reduced. They used to run these stress tests for banks to see how they would hold up under a crisis, and so they kind of relaxed those terms for the standards that a bank had to meet. So yeah, they're setting something up, man. And like I said, gold has been going up. These central banks have been quietly purchasing gold. United States, we don't know how much gold they have. We don't even know if they have any gold. I'm sure they have some, but they they were supposed to be auditing it.
Yeah.
That hasn't happened. And Elon Musk got put out of the Doge thing because he was trying to invite himself to this top secret meeting they were having about war on China. And nobody knows what happened, but I think this guy said these generals, put their foot down. Said he's doing business with China. He has no business being in a secret meeting discussing war plans for China. And now we shouldn't even be discussing war plans with China because that's not one that no one's going to win that war.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to lose. But the fact that he was trying to inject himself in that, and they've kind of put him on the back burner for a minute. He was, and you so all this money that Doge was finding, and for where's that money at? Where's our $5,000 check we were supposed to get from all this money that they recovered from, and there's fraud and waste in the government, man. That goes without saying.
Absolutely.
But where is it at now?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, is Musk a trillionaire now?
I don't know. He might be, man.
I saw a video the other day, but I can't tell if these things are AI now or if it's the real thing.
I'll tell you,
but
man.
He was saying he's a trillionaire, and they were asking him, well, how'd you get these trillions? And he talked about all of his companies, talked about, the space program, talked about Tesla, talked about, all these different things that he's doing. So I don't know. But
I listened to this guy, I don't know if you're the Judge Napolitano. He used to be on Fox.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
I remember him.
But now he's got a YouTube channel. He interviews a lot of people that are well versed in geopolitics. He's, even though he came from Fox, whatever he's doing now, he's calling it straight, man. And they are a lot of the people are that he brings on are very critical of what Trump, and they were critical of their last administration, and they're critical of this, but they're coming to it with facts. It's not like just we hate Donald Trump. They don't they don't hate him because of that. They are, I don't even think they hate him, but they're exposing what he's actually doing as far as like he came out and chastised Putin because they dropped a bomb, and it killed some civilians. But the place they bombed was a place where the guy said was underground. They had some kind of training going on down there. But at the same time, we bombed Yemen and killed civilians.
Exactly.
And nothing said about that.
Exactly.
And, they lost a F-18, I think, off of one of those boats in the off the coast of Yemen, because they shot a rocket at them, and in order to avoid the rocket, the boat had to make a sharp turn, and it flipped a F-18 into the ocean. $18 million.
Wow.
Down the drain.
Just down the drain.
And that's how much is that cost? If they got a fleet of ships out there, how much is that costing us? Somebody totaled it up. I mean, it was like in the billions. You got men, you've got equipment, you got to feed those people, you got to have fuel, and we are spending enormous amounts of money.
Yep.
For nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the people, but yet and still we have citizens here suffering.
Yeah, who can't afford food, or veterans, or homeless veterans, and it's amazing that what they find to spend money on it. And you noticed where the Epstein papers at? They were supposed to have been released, and they were sitting on whatever, the Pam Bondi. They were sitting on her desk. Yeah, we ain't seen them yet.
No, I don't think. Did they do the JFK papers?
Those either.
I thought there was something where he actually released them, but
They released some. They were supposed to be unredacted. Some of them were still redacted. But Bill, if you remember Bill Cooper, he had a podcast way back in the day where he laid out that whole thing. The Dealey Plaza. It's got a lot of occult references, and it was not Oswald who killed Kennedy. So so it's so they keep us guessing, man. They're never gonna release those papers, I don't think, because there's too many powerful people that will be implicated.
Exactly. But it sounded good.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The distraction sounded good because it got people over here. Then they came up with something else and they forgot about this over here. Now you're focused over here.
And like the guy who they made head of the FBI, he was, prior to that, he was running around talking about how he was, everything was so corrupt. And he gets in the office, and what does he do? Nothing.
Yeah.
Everybody, this guy was saying, we got everybody that we wanted, but they are, right now, it's looking bad. They're not doing what they promised. And that, what you expect? It's a hope and a prayer, man.
Well, I mean, the people got it at some point. Well, the people don't have to do anything because they haven't been. He didn't arrest Clinton. Said, I'm an arrester. Didn't arrest Clinton. Haven't seen none of the Epstein papers. Haven't seen none of the JFKs, really, that anything substantive other than what you already knew anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. You're all frauds.
Man, what do you think about this, that massive power outage they had over in parts of Spain and Portugal? Earlier this week. I think it started like Monday.
Yeah.
Last time I checked, nobody knew what was going on. The outage caused disruptions at airports, shops, public transport systems. And as of now, nearly half of Spain's power has been restored, and the government has set up a special commission to investigate the cause of the outage. The situation is still developing, but power supply is almost fully restored. And I think they were blaming it on I heard somebody say it was a atmospheric event. And I remember back in the 1800s, they had this thing called the Carrington event where a sunspot, fried all of the telegraph wires. And back then, we weren't that electronic, so it really wasn't that big of a deal, but it did fry all of the telegraph wires. So they're thinking that it was something like that.
Okay.
I would not be surprised. You remember your boy Klaus Schwab was saying, but I think they had a drill over the cyber polygon where a power outage and hacking and all that kind of stuff happened. So yeah, I don't know what happened, but I'm not believing what they told me so far. Just like that big explosion they had over in Iran, something blew up and they said it was chemicals, but Israel was quick to deny that they had anything to do with it. But
right,
yeah,
it wasn't me, as I smell gun smoke on your hands.
The guilty dog barks first.
Yes.
Hey, and there was this other story of CNN. This guy from CNN, Scott Pelley. He was, I think he was a producer or something at CNN, and so they were publishing a story that was kind of critical of what Israel was doing over in Palestine, and some Zionist board member reached out and said something, and then, so instead of changing his story, he resigned. And that's a rare thing where somebody actually stands up for what's right. But as a result of that, a lot of people started canceling their Paramount accounts because the lady, the person who did it, I guess Paramount owns the franchise of 60 Minutes. So a lot of people started canceling their subscriptions. There was a CNN minutes, 60 minutes rather, addressed surprised exit of longtime executive Bill Owens on Sunday's program with anchor Scott Pelley. So he came online and said that, an extraordinary blunt final segment of the news. Pelley revealed CBS's parent company Paramount began to supervise our content in new ways as it tries to complete a merger with Skydance Media. So he stood his ground and parted ways, and I guess they're suffering some financial repercussions of it. Because I had a Paramount account for a while. I wasn't even really watching it.
Yeah.
No, I canceled it.
Okay.
So, but yeah, that's one way we can speak, man. With money, they understand money. You can market you can march all day. They don't mind you marching up and down the street.
Yeah.
Stop spending money. That'll get their attention. But we're addicted to that. We can't stop. The United States is we used to make stuff here, but now we're a consumer.
Yeah.
They don't make a whole lot of stuff in the United States. That's why I don't understand what kind of tariffs are we we put, because we ain't making nothing. We ain't shipping nothing.
Right. I think there was something about when you were talking about money. There was something talking about, and I don't know where they're getting their statistics, but they were saying that because of the boycott of Walmart and those places, like so many billions of dollars was lost. And I hope that that's the case. I personally didn't see the statistics myself, but I hope that that's the case, because I think that is one way that we can speak is economically.
Yeah, well, they're saying that there's going to be supply chain problems coming up, because now a lot of stuff is not being shipped. The stuff that's that we need, like toilet paper. Remember that from COVID? They're saying a lot of
toilet paper and Lysol.
There's going to be some shortages coming up here. It might be maybe like in a month or so when those last shipments come in, and then there's nothing else coming in. So you might want to get a couple of extra bags of packages or something while you're at the store, just in case. But somebody sent out an email the other day on this group of men. They were like, "Oh, you need to prep and prep." I was like I've been prepping for the last 20 years.
Right, exactly.
So,
those that haven't, though, they better get on it.
And they're like, have a to-go bag. But I said, look, I ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
If you're gonna have to take me out. So
yeah. And really, the to-go bag is great. If shit's going to be bad for like 3 days, but you're talking about it's kind of like the joke that I heard a while back. I have enough money to last me the rest of my life if I die next Thursday. And that's kind of how I look at the to-go bag. Yeah. It's great for a couple of days, but I mean, because you only can fit so much stuff in that bag. Exactly. I have one, so I know. If you're looking for a couple of day thing, that's going to be, but catastrophe don't come like that usually.
No, and something like this
might be some weeks.
Yeah, it's gonna. I tell you, man, it's gonna get interesting, because. The fact that stuff has been, I think I saw something about Walmart. They were having trouble dealing with the tariffs. I still think he's here to crash the system and bring in the new Bretton Woods, whatever it's going to be.
I believe I'm with you on that, John. I think he is too. I think it's a total reset going on. It's not the reset people think it's going to be, though.
Yeah, there was this thing going around earlier. It was called the Great Taking, how the financial industry has basically set everything up to they will own everything. They, you know, if something goes, there's a crisis or whatever, they'll have legal ownership of all of your stocks or bonds. And I was telling this guy, he's been buying stocks, and so I said, well, stocks are but next time you talk to your broker, tell them you want to take possession of your actual stock certificate and see what happens. You ain't going to get it. You ain't going to get it. So, and on that note, gold is been pulled back a little bit, but it's still it's like 32.21 a day. Silver's up at 32. When I first started paying attention to silver, it was like $14 an ounce.
Yeah.
And gold was like maybe 1,100. And people are and Bitcoin. The other day I saw this stat: Wall Street bought like $170 million worth of Bitcoin.
Damn.
Yeah. And so
maybe
if
that's why it's up.
Yeah, if they're getting it, then something. The smartest guys in the room supposedly. That's what they're doing. So,
well, this goes back to your saying, John. I got this from you. 2016. Gold is the currency standard of kings.
Oh yeah.
Silver is the currency standard of gentlemen.
Yeah.
Barter is the currency standard of peasants, and debt is the currency standard of slaves.
Yep. It's true. Yeah, I forgot where I got that from, but that's a fact, man. And I think what's your boy named the guy who they set him and his brother up for he was a boxer. MMA fighting.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he was talking about slavery. Say, back if you had slaves and you had to feed them, you had to take care of them, you had to keep them healthy so they would work. Said, but if you make them wage slaves, you just pay them a little bit of money, and they have to pay for all their other stuff. They have to pay for their health care, they have to pay for their food. So, and I was that's slavery never went away. They just kind of modified it and applied it to everybody.
And it made you feel like you had a semblance of freedom, but you're still in the cycle of slavery.
Yeah.
Yep. Wow. That's real.
Yeah.
That's so real. Brilliantly put. Yeah. That's I can't remember his name, but I know who you're talking about. Him and his brother got arrested overseas, and
man,
it was a big deal.
It'll come to me when I'm not thinking about it.
Right.
Dang, it's right on the tip of my tongue too, man. Because I just listened to that thing the other day.
Yeah. But yeah, we're in some trying times, brother. Trying times. It's going to be interesting to see how this thing plays out for the rest of the year. And how the response is, because it seems like these tariffs aren't doing anything to China, and I don't know about Canada, but it seems like the Chinese are moving right along, game on. They're not being affected. It seems like, now I'm not in China, so I can't say for certain, but
well, they just had a big election in Canada, and they supposedly got Macron, not Macron, the other guy, Trudeau 2.0, and this guy was blaming Trump for that because of Trump. Trump basically endorsed the guy who won, who was not good for the people.
Yeah,
and so yeah, they just had a major election, man, and a lot of people weren't happy with the outcome, but the guy who supposedly he's a billionaire, and he's of that ilk, so you can know what to expect.
Yeah,
probably
same thing.
Yeah, I think he was supposedly he and Trump had some business dealings, in the private world, so that's probably why he was endorsing him.
There we go.
Andrew Tate. Tate.
Yeah.
Andrew
Tate, of course.
But yeah, that's what he said, man. So now you're wage slaves and you have to pay for your own stuff, but you're
Yeah.
still under my control.
Right. Right.
Because like I
Right.
say, don't take the shot, you lose your job.
Yeah. Yep. Wow. Well,
Yeah,
Brother John, it's been a good one
yeah, man.
as always. Um, yeah. So what next? Same time next week.
Yeah. Let's
Same
try to
time,
pull
same
up
place.
next Thursday, man. Try to keep on a regular schedule as much as it allows. Just to just
Absolutely.
keep things going, keep an eye on if something maybe pops up, that we need to jump on and talk about. But yeah, I think that schedule will work.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as always, brother, it's been great. And until next time, peace, love, light to the family. Make sure you're reaching out. Make sure you're inboxing for any questions. And if you all have any topics that you want touched on, yeah, inbox us.
Yeah.
Inbox Brother John. You can find him on what? You still on Instagram and Facebook? Not
Yeah,
as much, but
Instagram, but yeah. Hey, I
yeah.
want to give a shout out to my brother Slade, Dallas Slade. Man, he's a faithful member, man. I saw every time I
Okay.
put something, even back, I'd put out a video every now and then. He was still on it, man. So appreciate you, brother.
That's what's up. Shout out to Brother Dallas Slay. Yes, sir. So until next time, brother, peace, love, light. We are up out of here.